I want to make Christmas stockings. Christmas just passed, but doesn't mean I can't prepare for the next year. And I've never, first things first, I bought a sewing machine about, I don't know, like 2, 3 weeks, a week before Christmas. It came in, which means I'm in the Christmas spirit still. And I first attempted it by trying to draw out a shape using printer paper. This was the final shape that I went with, and this is what it produced. But I did not anticipate fold down length. So when I fold it down, not only is this tag way too low, but I have a booty. So this is not the final. I don't know the lingo yet, but I need to remake this. And I'm going to take down that booty. Okay, so step number 1 is to create a pattern. I revised the first one I made a new design, and now I'm cutting it out. Version 1, version 2. I don't know how I feel about this little stoop, but we shall see. Now onto the fabrics. I think what I want to do is cut out like strips. I can fit it knitted style, maybe? But I want this to be the inside pattern. I think I'm set on that. So let's start to cut out some shapes. Step number 2 is to cut out the fabrics. Now that we have our pattern, we're going to lay that over our fabrics that we want our stocking to be made of. So because I want the stocking to be a little fluffy, I'm cutting out a material that was called a cotton polyester mix. And now I'm cutting out the fabric that will be the inside of the stocking. So when I roll down the top of the boot, this is the material that you'll see. It is important to iron your pieces before sewing. So I'll show a little bit of myself ironing these pieces down. And because I'm doing a quilted style stocking, I'm going to pull out a bunch of different fabrics, colors, and designs, and cut different shapes, squares and rectangles specifically for this one. And once I cut out these pieces, I'm gonna try and lay it out on the stocking and figure out what design I want it to be. And I want to make sure that the stocking can be hung, so I'm going to cut out a 3.5 by 7 inch piece. I'm going to fold it long ways, right sides together, and the open edge I'm going to sew along that piece, and then I'm going to flip it right side out. And then we're going to move on to the next step, which is sewing everything into place. Now I'm going to take the pattern that I laid out and put it to the side so I have some more room to work with. I definitely had a hard time figuring out how to lay this out, that way all the pieces fit together. I had some trouble initially placing out the design, making sure that everything laid flat together, that I had to rip out some of the seams. Step number 5 is to seam rip any of the mistakes that you have made. So I've noticed that the best way to go about completing this pattern design that I've chosen is to take the roll of fabric and sew the pieces together before attaching it to the stocking. I saw a little bit of issue towards the toe design because it was a little offset. I did not make my pieces, my fabric squares, long enough to cover all edges of the cotton insides. So keep that in mind if you're making a stocking, is to make sure you give yourself enough allowance on those fabric pattern pieces. And once you're finished with putting on the design on this boot, you're going to do it to the second piece. And then you're going to sew those cotton boot pieces together, right sides together. You want to make sure you sew along all the edges except for the very top of the boot, so that way you can still get into it, because this is where you'll be putting the stocking stuffers. So while I don't show it on camera, you'll want to do the same thing to the inside lining. You'll put right sides together and you'll sew along all the edges except for the very top, because again, that's where you'll need to make sure you can stuff it. And attached to the inside lining is going to go the piece that you use to hang the stocking. So you're going to take that piece, you're going to fold it in half, and you're going to shove it on the inside. So that way the linings, the open linings, are together. So I had to seam rip it because I forgot to put it in initially. And then once you're finished sewing inside the hanger piece, you're going to flip it right side out. And now you're going to shove that piece inside of your outer lining, and now you're going to sew along the outer rim. You're going to want to make sure that you put the seams together and take this part really slowly. There's no rush. Once you've sewn it together, you're going to pull out the inner lining, and we left a hole open. And now we're going to put our hand in that hole and pretty much turn everything right side out. Once you pull everything right side out, you want to make sure you poke out the corners and make everything look like how it should. And then we're going to close up that seam that we had used to pull everything out. And this is going to be on the inside, so it doesn't have to be a pretty sew. But if you would like to make it look pretty, you can do some hand sewing. But I pretty much just closed it right up. And once you've closed up that seam, you can now shove the inner lining inside, and you are pretty much complete. The stocking is done. Now mine isn't perfect, but I definitely had fun making it. Now it's time for you to enjoy the stocking that you have made. In this next clip, I'm pulling out the initial one that I had made and kind of comparing it. I'm seeing what I like, how it's different. Definitely made the neck part longer and the boot was a different shape. There's now enough roll down length so it actually looks like a real stocking. So I'm very happy with how it came out, even if it's not the exact design that I would like to end with. always room for improvement. So this will not be my final design, but I definitely enjoyed the rainbow that came out of this boot design, and I like that it was overall longer. So comparing the two pieces, there was obvious improvements, but I am definitely exhausted after it was all said and done. So this turned out definitely way better than I expected it to. It's obviously not perfect. I think at this point it was more of a completion thing because I needed a general understanding of how to make a stocking. So there have been improvements. Number one, the tab was not as far down. The stocking leg was definitely longer and wider. The patterns are definitely different. This was a quilted style. I do mind it. I actually think it came out really well. Obviously I didn't make all the pieces long enough. And it's kind of hidden when this is hidden with this little cuff, but the bottom's also missing, so but it's not bad. I don't think I'll take it apart. I think I'll still hang it for sure. Maybe it'll be the cats for now, and then I'll get a cat, Christmas cat stocking material for them. I'll probably hang this one up too. I just won't fold it. I don't know. Okay. That's pretty much it. I am going to... This was not a follow along with me. This is more of a, this is how I did it, and I'm recording that process. So if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't, don't say anything.
Nah, we'll be fine.
Okay. On to the next project.